Hello and welcome back, and today is my review for The Last of Us Season 2 Episode 5, and this episode is just fine. I can't say anything bad about this episode really, outside maybe very nitpicky bits, and I can't say anything positive about this episode. Everything about this episode is just fine. It's a very mediocre episode compared to The Last of Us, and that is not good. It's not bad. It is an alright episode. So let's talk about episode 5. And the plot of this episode is about Ellie trying to find out where Abby is by going to Nora. And it's about her going all the way over to the hospital, having some issues along the way, and then we get the iconic scene where Ellie actually tortures Nora. And that was the episode. And it is enjoyable. Don't get me wrong, this is an enjoyable episode, but it just feels like normal TV. It does not feel like this big thing. It is just a normal episode, and going from episode 1, which I thought was really strong, to having this very mix of episode 2 being very good. Episode 3 I disliked, episode 4 I thought was good again, and now we're at episode 5 where I'm like, it's alright. I think this episode does what it sets out to do, and you can definitely feel the story going from A to B, but there just aren't some great moments in this episode. Every other episode, even the episode I didn't like, had some great moments. However, I feel like this episode doesn't have any great moments, but that's not to say it doesn't have any bad moments. It just has good moments, but no moments are absolutely phenomenal and great that I want to go and break down. There are some moments that are just good, like I think that the whole stalker section in this episode, very well done. I thought it was enjoyable and very chaotic. However, it wasn't as good as episode 1's stalker scene, and it got really over the top quite good. I like to see how it just all went down, but then it was over very quickly because Jesse comes in, saves them all and leaves. And then it leads to a Seraphite scene, which is alright, and then Ellie then separates from them. She goes over to the hospital where they all go back to the cinema. I think this scene will annoy a lot of game fans because they do a massive change in the adaptation. That is that Jesse mentions that he left with Tommy, and they are both there just to save Dina and Ellie. And this is a massive change from the game, because in the game, Tommy was just like Ellie. They both left alone to go and get revenge for Joel's death. And I think a lot of game fans are going to hate this because they are changing Tommy completely. He's going to have a completely different storyline, and he's not going to have the miserable ending like he does in the game. And I'm personally all for this, but I see a lot of people not going to like this because they're changing the original game. And then once we get past that scene, we then go into the final part of this episode, which has one thing I have an issue with. Like, they have the whole Ellie chases down Nora, everything from the game, then the torture scene, just like in the game. But the one issue I have is the spores, and this episode has the big spores reveal, and that's fine. However, I feel like the spores only exist in this episode for that one iconic scene at the end of the episode, and we will never see spores again. And what I really dislike about the spores is nothing to do with the episode. It's solely to do with the showrunners, with them in season 1, and they were talking about how they changed the spores to be tendrils because they thought the spores were really dumb, and they talked about all this, how they hated the spores, it just wouldn't work, it's very dumb. And then they are basically hypocrites because they say all that in season 1, season 2, spores are a big thing. And I feel like they're only in this episode for that one scene. It really annoys me, and it's something to do with not the episode, but the showrunners, so I can't really fault the episode, but I can just nitpick a little and talk about how this scene really feels very hypocritical. You do not do it in season 1 because you say spores are dumb, just to do this scene in season 2 and to have spores be a thing for them to never pair up again. I call it never going to pair up again. And that's the episode. And my overall thoughts and opinions of The Last of Us Season 2 Episode 5 is it's an okay episode. It's alright, it's not good, it's not bad, it's not setting the world on fire. It's just an alright episode, and I would give it a 5 out of 10. It is average TV, and it's something that you'd put on, watch once, think, oh, I enjoyed that, but never think about it again and never watch again. But this is just my thoughts and opinions, so please tell me what you think down below. But this is it for me today, so thank you for listening, and I'll talk to you later.